Hello and welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones and we're glad to have you here. Today we are continuing our coverage of the passing of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. This was an historic week as New Jersey said goodbye to a sitting Lieutenant Governor. Thursday started a three-day celebration of the life of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, who died last week at the age of 71. On Thursday, the Lieutenant Governor was escorted to the New Jersey State House Rotunda by the Honor Guard of the New Jersey State Police, where visitors were able to pay their respects. She is the first elected official to die in office since New Jersey's first governor, William Livingston, back in 1790. On Friday, Sheila Oliver was remembered at the Essex County Historic Courthouse in Newark. That's where the Lieutenant Governor was born and where she got her start in politics. She also lived in East Orange. Friday also marked the start of a month-long remembrance with all flags on state buildings flying at half-staff in honor of the Lieutenant Governor. Sheila Oliver is described by many as a trailblazer. In 2010, she made history, becoming the first black woman to lead the state assembly as Assembly Speaker. She was the first black woman to hold statewide elected office in New Jersey. She was elected as Lieutenant Governor alongside Governor Phil Murphy in 2017 and re-elected in 2021. Governor Phil Murphy was vacationing in Italy when Oliver, then serving as acting governor, was hospitalized and passed. Governor Murphy flew back and met with state workers who worked alongside Oliver at the Department of Community Affairs, which oversees state aid to cities and towns, among other duties, and where she was also the commissioner. Oliver's funeral service at the Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart in Newark is being officiated by former Secretary of State DeForest Buster Soares, and the Reverend Al Sharpton is delivering the eulogy. Joining me now to talk about the life and legacy of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver is New Jersey's Secretary of State, Taisha Way. Secretary, it is so good to see you. I'm so sorry under these circumstances.
Well, thank you for having me, Laura.
Can I ask first, just as a colleague of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, how are you all coping with her passing?
Well, I think that this is a tremendous loss for us all. At the same time, as we mourn and reflect upon the Lieutenant Governor, we do, see and realize the strength and the legacy that she's left for all of us in terms of just looking into whomever you are and just trying to make this world a better place.
Do you care to share how you first met the Lieutenant Governor or some of your interactions you might have had with her?
Sure. I came to know the Lieutenant Governor, I want to say about 20 years ago, when I became a rookie county commissioner in Passaic County. And being a rookie commissioner, you wanted to seek advice from female leaders in your community who held that position. Sheila held it as an Essex County commissioner, and you just wanted to gain some insight on making certain that your public service can be the best that it can be. And she was highly accessible at the time. Before we even engaged in any sort of policy discussions or how the role of county commissioner is, she asked me first, how are your children? At that time, I had 3 daughters, my husband and I. And I tell you, by her just asking that simple question, that just showed the good nature of who she was just as an individual. And so her advice to me was to A, be yourself, and then 2, just grapple and stay committed to about 2 or 3 issues that you can actually not only learn from, better, and be dedicated to in your life of public service.
So with that, did the Lieutenant Governor inspire you as your role as Secretary of State?
This is what I can say. I think that she and I, especially in my cabinet role now overseeing democracy, always had conversations about the development of a passion of mine and now my team overseeing democracy of our youth and our youth engagement. And, she'd always, said, yes, county government, local government is key because you want to get to know your constituents, but you always want to have that olive branch go beyond, if you will.
Yeah.
And those simple words, I know that even as Secretary of State, my team and I, through the Division of Elections, going back to the youth engagement portion, we made certain, I would call her up and just toss to her ideas of what my team and I were thinking about, making sure that our youth understood the importance of citizenship, being part of the communities, and just giving back on various platforms
Yeah.
through voting and, of course, just being civic minded. And, again, those are some of the lessons in which she imparted into my heart and, of course, with my team.
And what I'm hearing and reading and learning is very much so. She wasn't just a figurehead. She was very much involved day to day in the issues that mattered so much to her. And I'm curious, what qualities do you think are important for a lieutenant governor to possess, and how that impacts their ability to work with Governor Phil Murphy?
Mhm. Well, I really can't speak about, the qualities specifically as to what a lieutenant governor should possess, but this is the one thing that I know about the lieutenant governor in our eyes. There's a saying that goes, lift as you climb, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she definitely stood for that, meaning looking at the landscape of who is behind you or even besides you, and whatever you do, and it doesn't even have to be in a governmental sector, just making sure you always understand that you're supposed to take others with you and to be authentic. Another thing about Sheila that I just loved was she was like a walking history book
Is
in
she?
meetings. Yes, she was.
I didn't know that about her.
Yes, I tell you, on any topic, I've never seen anyone who could just, without being scripted, speak and impart such knowledge to an audience in meetings. She always had this good natured humor about her, but at the same time, you always learned something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of the things that you're bringing up, I've heard more than one time. Is that accessibility, that way that she was able to connect with people, and I'm hearing it again and again and again. And her passing, it's had a ripple effect on the executive branch, and it might even affect you and your role in the coming days. I don't want to put you on the spot, and at the same time, if you do want to take a chance to talk a little bit about, how this could affect you, or somebody with your skill set could be a good successor. Do you care to address any of that?
Well, Laura, right now, what I'm addressing is just the reflection and celebration on a most significant life. Aside from government politics again, Sheila Oliver stood tall as a person. For an African American female such as myself, you read in the history books about the Sojourner Truth, about the Mary McLeod Bethunes, right? And you say to yourself, wow, these are phenomenal individuals, African American individuals, who you would never meet, but you read about. And you probably think to yourself while you're learning about them, I'm never going to come across another individual like this. Well, I did. And I know all of us did. A
Mm-hmm.
living legend who broke barriers, who, like Sojourner Truth and like Ida B. Wells and Mary McLeod Bethune, were just change makers, sincere change makers so that others' lives could be better.
And how do you think that legacy will play out in the days, the weeks, the years that come? I mean, as you said, she broke barriers for yourself as being the first Black woman elected to a statewide office and as assembly speaker. What type of legacy do you think she will continue to have?
I just think that she touched so many lives. She'll go down in history as a North Star, if you will, of how to serve your community in your state. It's interesting also, if you even go outside of New Jersey, the amount of individuals who will come up to you like they have with me and just comment on what a gracious, smart, and wonderful human being Sheila Oliver was.
As state government pauses and reflects, remembers, the wheels do go on. And I'm curious, once the news broke of Sheila Oliver passing, a lot of people were really, really surprised. Are you able to share anything about those who worked closely, about how you all were informed, how you were supported during this time? Because as sad and as tragic as this is, state government still has to work. And you have people who work under the lieutenant governor, people who work under you. They still have to show up to work when they've lost somebody they've worked with, somebody they cared for, somebody they might have confided in. So can you talk a little bit about that and how that's been going over the past week?
Well, the one thing that I can speak about is again with my experience, having, spoken, with the lieutenant governor earlier, she was very vibrant. She always was vibrant,
Yeah.
right? She has that presence, right?
Yep.
And so I think that we all were taken aback when the news came, sadly so. And I know what my team here at the Department of State, you know, remembers about her. And this goes back to when I was speaking about how she was, a wonderful mentor for me in terms of engagement and trying to incentivize communities to be part of something grander than themselves, than democracy. And I can only speak about my department and my staff, and we are going to do our best to continue being authentic to the best way we can, like she was
Yeah. Are there
in
any
all of our work.
Yeah. Are there any particular accomplishments or milestones or passion projects that the Lieutenant Governor had that you admire most or that really strike a chord with you, that really resonate with you?
I admired her from afar. Her portfolio was different than mine, a DCA but I admired just the basic foundation she had, Laura,
Hmm.
right? To help those who were underserved and who are in need.
Yeah. How would you say her leadership impacted the state of New Jersey and you know, what footprint will be left behind as far as her leadership in the state of New Jersey? Because it was as lieutenant governor, but also as assembly speaker, and what she did in her home county, Essex County, as well.
Sure. I just think that her legacy is all about being true to who you are and being genuine, right? I also, think that she's one of the most heralded African American leaders, not only this state has had, but of course this nation has had. And
Yeah.
with that, she leaves a legacy of equality, if you will, for all of us to understand and, of course, to be a part of in our respective careers. And again, this goes outside of government. She just had that presence.
Yeah.
And her presence was not about the title, it was just an embodiment of who she was. I also say to myself, when I think about Sheila Oliver, I think that she was a constant problem solver, which I also admired.
Yeah, yeah. It is extraordinary to see the outpouring of support, 3-day celebration of life. Just any final thoughts that you would like to add before we wrap up this segment here?
Sure. Again, it's just thank you for having me on, to give reflections about our lieutenant governor. We all will tremendously miss her. And again, our hope, or at least, is just to make certain that her legacy of being that public servant to all, understanding that is should be a mission of all of us to give back, right? And make this world, our society, a better place will be carried on with everyone. And folk can realize that. So
Secretary
thank you for having me.
and Secretary of State Taisha Way, thank you so much for taking the time. And again, I'm so very sorry for your loss, and I'm also very grateful for the time that you took to share your memories and to talk more about Sheila Oliver's legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Here now to talk about the legacy of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver and this historic funeral is Ben Dworkin. He's director of the Rowan Institute for Public Policy. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry they're under these circumstances.
It's always good to see you, Laura, but yes, it is a sad time for New Jersey.
Yeah, let me get your thoughts as you're watching the services and the services play out amongst these 3 days across our state for Sheila Oliver.
Right. Look, I think the word that we keep hearing when people are talking about Sheila Oliver is trailblazer. And that is the operative word because it's true. This was the first Black woman to ever lead a legislative chamber in New Jersey. She's only the second Black woman to have that kind of role in the entire country. And she was the first Black woman to hold statewide office in New Jersey. So, in many ways, she set a real example for people and particularly Black women around the country and certainly here in the state.
Now, what impact do you think her death, the death of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, will have on the political landscape of New Jersey?
Well, there's a couple different ways. I think, first of all, just people are going to be reminded about the kind of role she played, and there are going to be others who are going to step up and say, "I am standing, in the footsteps of Sheila Oliver. We are building on her legacy as they move forward." So there'll be that part of it, but also politically, obviously, the governor has to make a decision. He needs a new lieutenant governor. He has 45 days from the point of her passing in order to select a new person. And we're waiting to see how that all plays out because by appointing somebody who's in another office, you can open up another position. And so this can become a trickle down effect, if you will, in terms of appointments.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the word trailblazer, and a lot of people talk about trailblazer when you talk about Sheila Oliver. Can you talk about her accomplishments and her success, not just as lieutenant governor, but as Assembly Speaker? I mean, she was Assembly Speaker under Chris Christie. She had to deal with Senate President Steve Sweeney. Those are not easy. Those are very strong personalities to work with. And she did so in a very stellar way and had the support, it seems, of her colleagues.
She did. One of the things that you're just realizing now, and you can't say this about everybody in politics, is that she was liked. People disagreed with her. She was a strong progressive Democrat. She represented the urban agenda particularly well because that's from when she came. But people liked her. And I think this is a moment in her passing where people are recognizing she was just a nice person. She was firm. She was opinionated, all things you need in a leader. But she was kind. And so that is part of her legacy. Look, Sheila Oliver was passionate about community. She was passionate about her community. in Essex County. She was dedicated to public service, especially in trying to bring forth a new generation of people who will be in the very unglamorous roles that need to be played in a true government and at the local level.
Yeah.
You need clerks, you need deputy clerks. She was concerned with that. Who are we getting? How are we getting the smartest people to play these roles in local and in county government? And finally, she was a real advocate for women, especially for Black women, as a role model. But she demanded that they be recognized and respected, have a seat at the table. All of these are part of her legacy.
Yeah, a lot of people were very surprised by her death, and now there is a 3-day celebration of her life. Lynden stayed in Trenton, in Essex County. Al Sharpton delivering the eulogy. What are your thoughts on how she is being remembered right now?
Well, this is really unprecedented. We've only had lieutenant governors since 2009, so the position in and of itself is new. And in recent memory, you haven't had a governor or a lieutenant governor in this case who died in office. And so this is being treated differently than, say, the passing of other governors. We remember when Brendan Byrne passed away a few years ago, governor in the 1970s. And he was a beloved figure, had a tremendous record of accomplishment. But there was a celebration, there was a memorial service, there was a subsequent memorial service where people talked about his legacy. This kind of, I don't want to say it in a derogative way, but this pomp and circumstance that we now have with the 3 days lying in state, the caravan from Essex to Trenton, all of this is really, I think, not just because it's Sheila Oliver, but because she died while in office. Right. And that makes this different than any other funeral of a beloved public servant.
Yeah, the last person to die in office was William Livingston, the first governor of New Jersey. He passed away in 1790. So where she was in the State House in Trenton, the Rotunda, didn't even exist. Only a small portion of the State House exists. So, again, the wheels of government don't stop. And we have a line of succession. Governor Murphy was overseas when this happened, so the Senate president filled in. So, you mentioned the 45-day deadline to appoint a new lieutenant governor. How do you think he's going to approach that process of appointing a new lieutenant governor?
Well, I think the governor understands symbolism. He understands role models. He understands the projection of diversity. I think that matters to him. So obviously he's going to find someone extremely qualified. No one will have any doubts about that. But I think it would be particularly difficult for Governor Murphy not to pick another Black woman. I think that would be surprising if he didn't. It'll most certainly, it seems to me, would be a woman. Yeah. But the governor has a lot to figure in. Well, who would you pick? And one of the things about our lieutenant governor position is that the salary for the lieutenant governor is zero. They get no public salary. So if you want someone to do this work, either they're retired and don't need a salary, or you have to find them a job. In this case, Lieutenant Governor Oliver also served as Commissioner of Community Affairs, which is the large state agency that oversees all of the local aid, oversees local budgeting, make sure that people aren't playing tricks with the books. This is that agency. And so he not only needs to pick a new lieutenant governor, he needs to pick a new commissioner of community affairs. And so this opens new opportunities, because one could imagine he could take another cabinet member and then replace that person's cabinet position, and have them move over to community affairs. A lot of things can happen here.
Could there be any potential policy changes that may occur as a result of the appointment of a new lieutenant governor? Even if he's trying to avoid that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I doubt that we're going to see significant policy changes. Lieutenant Governor Oliver obviously led the Department of Community Affairs and had a strong agenda. I imagine that agenda, even if it's not articulated in the same way because she was unique in how she approached it, will largely stay the same.
Yeah, yeah. Just final thoughts. These are tremendous shoes to fill. What do you think? Is there any one legacy that you think people will think of when you think of Sheila Oliver?
Look, representation from somebody who looks like you has a huge effect on people, particularly young people. So when you tell a young person, look, you can grow up and be governor, it's that much easier because somebody's now done it. The second time we have a black woman as lieutenant governor or even running for governor and winning as governor, it's not going to be nearly as big a deal because Sheila Oliver did it. And that is, I think, going to be perhaps the most significant part of her legacy.
Yeah. Ben Dworkin, Rowan University, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, to share your insights and analysis. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that will do it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Laura Jones. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.